Welcome to the Wake Up Show. My name is Dr. Larry Ivory. I am the President CEO of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and also Chairman of the Board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. I am excited again to bring you another, I think, an incredible conversation. We got some pretty exciting people on the show. But let me get right into it. Let me just well, she needs no introduction by any stretch of the imagination. She is our producer. She is my co-host. She is the head of marketing for the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, the one and only Dr. LaDonna Raeh.
Good morning. Larry, let me just say I'm so proud of you. You look great. You look absolutely amazing. You look camera ready. And this is what we're talking about moving forward in 2026 because we have our own project 2026 and beyond. Welcome to the Wake Up Show, guys. This is powered by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Wind Creek Chicago Southland every Saturday morning. 9 a.m. Make sure you're here on WVON. We're here to help Black businesses grow through education, relationships, capital, and opportunity. This is where you heard it first. But today we're taking you from Washington, D.C. to Chicago because policy shapes opportunity and opportunity creates wealth. Here joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. and Phoenix Strategies is Nigel Stevens.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I always appreciate joining the Wake Up Show and LaDonna for the work that you do and your ability to deliver these messages to the folks. And Larry, for your leadership. Thank you very much for having me.
Our pleasure. Nigel, what's happening in Washington, D.C., man? We've been looking forward to an update. Every day seems to be something new. Give us your perspective on the things that the Black business community and Black people ought to be concerned about that you understand going on in D.C.
Thanks, Larry. So I'm going to start this off by talking about some things that directly affect those folks who are involved in contracting with the federal government. And then we'll talk about some of the things that are just going to affect businesses in general, regardless of what industry you're in. So first of all, unfortunately, the numbers came out for 2025 with regards to the overall government spend for federal government as well as small business, and the numbers are going in the wrong direction. The good news is that the federal government has continued to go beyond its 23% statutory goal of awarding contracts to small businesses. They are at 27%. Now, it's good that we are continuing to beat that 23% goal. But Larry, if you remember way back in the days in 2003, there was bipartisan efforts in the House and the Senate to increase that 23% goal to 30%, to make it increase the opportunities for small and diverse businesses to participate in federal contracting. And we have been fighting for 23 years to increase that goal from 23% to 30%. And we need to continue fighting that effort and moving forward and getting that goal up as high as possible. Because if not, then what you end up with is essentially what I call a 70% big business set aside. So we need to make sure that we increase that statutory goal. But within that, the numbers came out for 2025, and unfortunately, they're going in the wrong direction. We went from small business utilization of 28.7% down to 27.5%. Now, why that 1% change does not sound like a lot, last year the federal government spent $811 billion through procurement. So whether or not that is through for defense, through civilian agencies, or what we call other transactional authority, which is emergency spend, for lack of a better term, $811 billion. That 1% difference means that $8 billion that was supposed to go to Main Street, to small businesses.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the
All
sun
right, for some reason I'm hearing some music from the board. Can we stop the music? It's coming from the board. Hey, Robert, let's go ahead and stop the music. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Nigel.
I thought I was getting my entry music. You guys
Well,
gonna
I mean,
give?
it sounded good, but we
Hey,
want
I
to
know
hear
that's
this.
right. Look, as long as I wasn't getting the hook.
Right. Boom. Okay.
Right. So yes, that 1% difference, that 1% decline means that about $8 billion that was supposed to go to small business did not go to small business in 2025. And that's a huge impact on all of our communities, not just the diverse communities, but all communities. Small business needs to play a bigger role when it comes to federal contracting. And yes, it's for everything that they purchase, goods and services. Um,
Nigel, let me interrupt you real quick. When we say they need to play a better role, some people say, well, why should they? Give us a sense of why that's so important from your perspective, because I think people misunderstand, the fact that they're contributing to this economy and they have a right to participate where the dollars help create the opportunity.
well, look, small business participation is a national security issue and it's an economic security issue. The largest purchaser of goods and services on earth is the United States federal government. It is the largest consistent purchaser of goods and services on earth. So when you talk about the amount of consistent spend and reliable spend, you need to participate in that marketplace. So that is a benefit not only to the federal government but to all the businesses themselves. More competition brings lower prices, more innovation, more creativity, and a more robust supply chain and sustainable supply chain and resilient supply chain to the federal government. So what you're bringing to the table is not just your independent capabilities and products, it also strengthens the nation, it strengthens the government. But let's look at it in the other direction. As you start looking at the businesses that have become global entities, that become global corporations as a result of federal contracts or small business administration assistance. You're talking about BlackBerry, Winnebago, Tesla, right? There are global entities that are multi-billion dollar annual revenue firms that got their start through SBA grants, loans, or federal government contracts, grants, loans, or some type of technical assistance, whether that's through the SBIR program, technology transfer, or innovation investments from the federal government. So don't ever leave that money on the table. Don't ever leave those opportunities on the table, because not only does it offer consistent, reliable payments through your contracts, but it also gives you the golden ticket, which is a record of past performance, a successful record of past performance that you can leverage to show other entities that you're able to do contracting and perform at the highest levels of capability. That means you can also expand and diversify your business mix.
What do you think small businesses are afraid of when it comes to participating or not participating in these or initiatives?
The regulatory burden, the paperwork necessary, okay, the administrative requirements that you need to do, but then also, it costs money to go after these contracts. It costs money to respond to RFPs and to show up and build relationship with contracting officers and let them know that you're there. But that work is worth it, right? When you get a private sector doesn't have 5 and 10 year contracts, right? So if you can go through that effort, and quite honestly, in this environment, we need to find ways to leverage technology, leverage AI, find ways to streamline that effort, streamline those programs, and go and ask for technical assistance through your small business development centers, all your technical assistance centers with the Black Chamber, and get that assistance that you need in order to go after these contracts, because it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been talking about specifically in Illinois, Nigel, has been the fact that we have about 188,000 black businesses, and only 3.2% of them have employees. So that means that we have over 96% of our business are solopreneurs. In contrast, Hispanics are 17, 18%. Asians and Pacific Islanders are close to 20%. We're really underperforming when it comes to growth. And when you take a look at our aggregate in terms of their aggregate, there are 4.5 times greater revenues. There is a serious problem. There's a significant trade deficit. But one of the things that we got to be careful is that even though we can articulate the data, The question is, what's the solution to our problems? It's like, what's our solution to what's happening in Washington, D.C.? You got to get out and vote. If you don't do that, then you are implicit to the problem. So what we're trying to do now is say really focus on our own agenda. One, I think you've talked about it before, getting us to understand going out of the way to do business with each other. Every other culture does that. We have a problem. I don't know if that comes from slavery, of self-hate, or whatever the case may be, but we better figure it out in a hurry because we need to be focused on what we're going to be doing. We're going to be launching a tour across the state that really deals with how we overcome that problem of solopreneurs and moving that agenda forward.
So you touched on a very important thing, Larry, and we've talked about this over many, many weeks. The business environment, whether it's commercial, state, local, federal, the business environment in the United States is changing. What was originally considered a small business a few years ago, a small contract a few years ago, is much bigger now than it was then. So the contracts are getting larger, and you have to show capacity to be able to manage those larger contracts. So the sole entrepreneur, the mom and pop shop that's doing back office functions, technical services, IT services, and all that, that is being diminished, starting at the federal level, and it's trickling down. So those entities need to get bigger, faster, and show capacity to be able to handle these larger contracts. So that means in the short term, reaching out and finding strategic partnerships, joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions. We need to find ways to get these firms to go from a one-person accounting firm to a 50-person accounting firm. We need to do that, yesterday. We need to do that as quickly as possible. So we need to now, what that cultural challenge, whatever that may be, we need to address that head on and be creative in how we work together in order to build our company capacities.
Yeah, our theme this year at the conference, at least one of the themes that we have is no longer divided. And I believe that we are a divided people, that it's easy to divide us against ourselves. You go back to when they were carving up Africa, they divided the African tribes by giving some tribes some gifts and then not giving the other tribes gifts. And they try to create this environment of conflict. We have to be very careful that we still have an environment. What we need to do is really, from my perspective, is come together, set aside the fundamental differences, and work together for the common good of changing those numbers. Because if we go from 3.2% of black businesses who have solopreneurs, who has employees, and we go to 30%, look what the economic impact would be. It would be absolutely incredible. That's where we have to focus our time and energy and resources on, is scaling businesses and getting them to the next level.
All right.
So a couple things. So there are also some new regulations, and touching on that, it's the concept, Larry, of do you want 100% of $100,000, or do you want a percentage of $100 million? Right. This is what we need to start thinking about with regards to growing the capacity of our business.
Yeah.
But there are a few regulations that are out and coming out that we need to pay attention to, and I want to stress that our businesses need to get more engaged. We have to get off the sidelines and participate in things like and organizations like the Black Chamber, so we can be educated about these regulatory changes, because you are not going to hear about this on the news. You're not going to hear about it on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, because they don't cover this level of nuance. But these are the type of things that are going to directly affect your business. And by the time you find out, you don't want to be in a situation where by the time you find out about it, it's already too late. And now it's already affecting your business. So there are a couple things. First, the SBA issued a final rule, which changes their policies when it comes to how they create new rules, new regulatory changes. They have now eliminated the comment period for new rules relating to public property, loans, grants, benefits, or contracts. So when they change the regulatory structure around decisions on those categories of activities, which is basically everything the SBA does, they are no longer required through the Administrative Procedures Act to issue comment periods for individuals and companies to weigh in. So this significantly restricts the ability for the small business community to give their opinions and weigh in on the rules that are going to be governing them moving forward. So that's a significant change.
That's a significant change. If we don't have any input and small business don't have a input, the consequences could be collateral damage could be significant. That's scary in and of itself. So what else is happening? I mean,
Well, we have a caller, and we do have Robert Johnson, attorney Robert Johnson, on the line as well. Tell me how you want to work this.
why don't we go ahead and bring Attorney Robert Johnson on the call and let him chime in on some of the things that we've talked about, and then we'll let Nigel finish, and we'll take our caller.
For sure. Hey, Robert. Attorney Robert Johnson from Solomon Group is on the line with us. Welcome to the Wake Up Show.
Hey, good morning, Donna. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Nigel. I've been listening to the conversation that you all have been having, and it's, as always, timely and definitely something that really speaks to the heart of the issues that our black businesses are facing. The thing that I would like to add, and it sounds like this is where you were starting to pivot to, the other piece of this is the political power that needs to be brought to bear to address these issues. The evidence supports the data that Larry just talked about in terms of the fact that 96% of black businesses are solopreneurs. We all know that we have limited access to capital, limited access to opportunities, and the landscape is changing, as just was discussed about relative to the contracting opportunities. So this information and this partnership needs to be strengthened with our black elected officials so that they understand the environment that our black businesses are trying to compete in, and that we can develop a partnership. And so that's the reason why we created the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce PAC, so that we can support black politicians that support the black business agenda. We want to make sure that we have elected officials who understand the needs of our community, who are responsive to our community, who are willing to partner with our community and to implement legislation and advocate on behalf of black businesses to make it easier for us to do business, easier for us to get access to capital, easier for us to hire, easier for us to designate opportunity zones in our community that provide benefits for those who want to operate in our community. And so we are especially focused, given this historic midterm election that is just a few months away, to make sure that our base is energized to support those who support us. And so we're looking to begin a robust fundraising campaign and an outreach campaign to get folks to come to the table to support the PAC, so that we can have the resources and the perspective that we need in order to support the black candidates that support black business.
Yeah, Robert, and I'll say, as chairman of the Illinois Black Business PAC, we have a goal over the next year to put $1 million in our PAC. I would dare say that would make us the largest black political PAC in the United States of America.
What is
But it's
that
not.
hissing? I'm sorry, I hear some high pitched. Nigel, mute your mic for me while you're not speaking. Apologies. Yep, go ahead.
Our goal is that we're going to try to raise $1 million in the PAC. And it's not just giving money to politicians. We want to give money to people who want to carry the water for black business. And what I think, Nigel and Robert, and to our listening audience, one of the things I found out, and I'm going to try to be brief as possible, important, a lot of Hispanics come out of procurement. They're in procurement, they lead procurement, and they run for office. That gives them a competitive advantage because they understand procurement. We don't have very many people who really have procurement expertise coming out and then running for political office. That can be a significant advantage, because if you come out of the system and you understand procurement and you understand where the decisions are made and who makes a decision, that really gives you a competitive advantage from a political side, that you can get more done. But as most of our people are coming out of schools, education, but have no real background in procurement, then I think we're at a disadvantage. So we need to train up our political figures to really understand. I don't mean on the surface understand procurement. I mean really understand procurement and what's going on internally, because there's a lot of nuances when it comes to procurement. But Nigel, I'm going to get back to you, and LaDonna, we'll get to our caller right after this.
Okay, Pianki, hold on real fast. We'll get to you in a second.
So let me just very quickly run through these next two changes because I do want OMB has now shifted its rules regarding and
Hold on. That pitching is coming from you, Nigel. Yep. You may have your speaker mic on and maybe turned up too loud.
is that better?
We'll try it because there's an echo when you talk too. So you may have to turn it all the way down or use some headphones. Plug them in.
So OMB has changed its rules. This is a government-wide implication with regards to how it governs grants awards. It is now. Can you hear me now?
It's still pitchy and echoing, but
Okay, I'll try to be brief. Um, Final decisions on grant awards are now being made by political appointees instead of career employees within the agencies. They have expanded termination authority. So for those of you in government contracting who understand a termination for convenience, there is now application in that space awarding with regards to grant awards. There, as a part of this, one of the reviews that they're going to be doing is ensuring that grant recipients are not participating in any DEI activities or any gender ideology programs and things like that. And then also there's more in compliance and documentation requirements specifically for the grant awardees for now participating in things in like the E-Verify program, and they need to strengthen their internal controls. So there are a lot of new provisions around grant awardees. That also affects not only the grant awardees, but also entities that have been supported by those organizations. It applies to every type of grant, healthcare, infrastructure. So when you think about how funding goes from the Department of Transportation to local municipalities for infrastructure grants, rails, roads, bridges, airports, all of those things, those are grant awards. And now this oversight is going to be shifting from folks who are watching it for the implementation for roads, bridges, healthcare, cancer research, all of those things. But now it has a political spin on it and political review, and they specifically name participation in DEI programs. So this could affect how nonprofit organizations receive support from those entities. The last one is they have now issued a final rule that eliminates what they call constitutional concerns in SBA programs, specifically targeting what they're referring to as affirmative action activities within SBA programs. And this applies to everything from 7A and 504 loan programs, energy loans, handicap assistance loans, small business development centers, women's business centers, SCORE, the SBIR program, technology assistance program, international trade program, everything here, they are looking into the Code of Federal Regulations and eliminating any reference to affirmative action or affirmative action style activities where the entity has to be proactive in outreach and engagement to bring more diverse populations to the table. So these are not just programs that affect government contractors. Because it's now applied to SBA and all the technical assistance, it could affect civilian, commercial contracts as well, commercial contractors that don't even have government contracts. So when you start talking about the need for the political engagement to change the environment, these are final rules. So they're going into effect. The comment period has closed on one of them. The others are final rules. So the only way to change these things or to even address it and raise concerns at this point is to change the makeup of the leadership structure. So what you were talking about earlier about the political engagement and getting out to vote and participating is, I mean, it's essential at this point.
I have a question. Is there a way? I know that we get very we get very concerned when it has to do with race, and we lead with that. And everything is being repealed and pivoted away from race and gender. Do any of you on this panel on this call today, do you feel like we can win without race? I just want to know.
Yes. That's why I led with the SBA numbers first. This is
Yeah.
about small business. This is about competitiveness. We have gotten lazy, quite honestly, and leveraged these programs and certifications too much. Right? I've talked to many small businesses, and I ask for their elevator pitch, and they'll start off by saying, "Well, I'm
I'm
a
black.
8A DBE certified, blah 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 blah," and within 30 seconds, I've heard about all their certifications, and I still don't know what their business does.
Yeah.
We need to get to a point, and very quickly, where we are effective businesses that happen to be owned by women and people of color, that happen to be owned by. Let's get to leading with our capabilities and our skill sets and our past performance and our successes and what we can do for the new client or potential client. Lean into that. And then if they need a pathway in order to get to a contract with us, then we talk about our certifications that can help smooth that pathway. But businesses aren't going to do, they're never going to do business with you because
You're black.
your certification. The
Right.
certification is simply an access point. So let's start focusing, like Larry was saying earlier, build your capacity, build your size, your scale, your capabilities, and let's focus on your outcomes and talk about those things versus leaning so heavily on the certifications.
I love it. Well, Nigel, thank you so much for being with us today.
We're going to keep Nigel on.
No, we can't because his sound quality is
Okay.
piercing. So we got to let him go. I'm so sorry.
Nigel, great having you on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Nigel. All right. Sorry about that, Larry.
No
Please
problem.
continue. So we got Robert Johnson. We have a caller. I think Pianki's still holding. Let's go ahead and grab him. Pianki, you're live on the Wake Up Show.
Thank you very much, LaDonna. Keep hearing this cliche that blacks need to get out and vote at the midterm and elect politicians. Now, I was a steel erector. I put up bridges, 20, 30, and 40-story buildings for nearly 4 decades. I never referred to no politician. I bought your politicians. Politics do not control business. Business control politics. I was a member of the Associated General Contractors. I was a member of the Erectors and Riggers organization there in St. Louis. You're not going to outspend them. They got billions of dollars to buy your politicians. Now, your answer to your businesses that seem they don't hire anybody, you got to get more blacks in those trades where they can learn a particular trade, whether it's putting up elevators, whether it's putting up bridges, whether it's putting up concrete reinforcement, so they can understand the business. You just can't grab nobody off the street and say, I want you to do this business in a commercial trade. It's not going to work. And I don't understand why you don't listen to people that's been doing these things forever. I started that when I was 19 years old. But you don't listen. It ain't got jack to do about voting. Heck, I done just as well during Reagan as I did during Clinton.
So, Pianki, are you saying that
people.
we shouldn't vote? Are you saying that we shouldn't vote?
Not on the pretension that you're going to get more jobs.
No,
Affirmative action don't guarantee you no
Yeah,
job.
yeah, I
You get
don't
the
think
job,
that's-
like Niger said, it's competitiveness. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Pianki, no, I appreciate your opinion, but in this sense, I think that what our ancestors fought for, I know we hear this all the time, but all the way, no matter what, numbers really drive mission, no matter what the mission is. If we don't have the numbers, we don't wait until we have an initiative that voting will directly address and then tell people to get out and vote. They have to get out and get those numbers in so that we can get the right people in.
LaDonna.
If we don't, then
Okay, I hear
we're
you.
just waiting on something to happen, Pianki.
Let me say something, LaDonna. You with the Black Chambers of Commerce. You know I've done projects in Illinois that I was never a member of the Black Chamber of Commerce. I
Shame
did not
on you.
have no Illinois Department of Transportation certification. It was because of competitive bidding. Now, you can take it for what it's worth. I'm just trying to tell you, you that direction. Elect Danny Davis for the last 40 years. I'll buy him out for right under your feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bianca. You know, it's funny, Larry, that he mentioned that because we have a comment that says we have to build a capital source. And you were talking about the political pack.
Well, I think in every comment people make, there's some value from it. I don't think anyone has the silver bullet that fixes everything. I think we have to really take a look at our current situation, find out what's not working, and cause and effect. The cause, we know what the cause. We know what the effect is, but we need to understand the cause, and we need to fix it so that we can move forward. Whatever that takes, he makes some very salient points in terms of you don't have to necessarily be certified if you go out and compete and you're in the business. But I've been in the business in construction and chamber for 30 plus years also. So I know the rules, the regulations. I know the unions extremely well. I know it. I love to have a conversation with him offline. So if he's listening, I hope you take a moment to
Call Larry.
back in and give me a call. I love to have a conversation with you in terms of some of the points that you make, which are very good points, but also to understand some other sides of the issues also. Because, like I said, we've been around for a long time. And, the fact when people say, well, I haven't belonged to the chamber and I got in business, that's wonderful. But a lot of the people get businesses because they're part of the chamber.
Right,
Because
that's
we
right.
open doors, because we push the envelope, because we know what the rules and regulations are.
I mean, it's
But
been
it doesn't
it's
mean
been
that
made clear. Larry, don't forget about, we had someone that came to our lobby day twice in a row in 2 years. First time they came and said, man, I got really good connections because I came to lobby day, even though they were invited by a family member. And the next time they came, they got bigger connections. And then when we talked to them, they said, oh, no, I came on my own free will. The chamber didn't introduce me, but you wouldn't have come with the chamber on that day, on those 2 days that got you an even bigger contract. I'm very disappointed with that. And if that's the way we're thinking, that's stinking thinking.
Hey, we have
I would
attorney.
just add to that real quick is that, you know, the problems that we face as a community are multifaceted. So to Larry's point, there's not going to be a single solution. What we're proposing is a solution. And so we're not thinking either or, we're thinking both and. And so there are multiple ways that we need to attack this, but it is highly unlikely that we will be successful if we're not engaged in the political process. I mean, to your earlier point, LaDonna, the gains that we've made have been largely done as a result of the political process. Now, it's imperfect, as this is an imperfect union, and it's a very imperfect process, and there's, to the caller's point, tons of dark money and influence peddling that happens that's beyond our control. But what we're trying to do is control what we can control, and control what is within our sphere of influence, and that is our ability to partner with those who want to partner with us, and to develop allyship and support for those who want to support Black business. And so that's really what we're focused on.
Yeah, Robert, and I would say to him on a point that I can fundamentally disagree with him on, is that I'm a part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the elite group called the CC 100, and they have a political PAC, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce gives money, a significant amount of money, to politicians that carry their water. Now, they're not giving that money because it doesn't matter in commerce. They do that because they know that if they support them from a financial point of view, because politicians need two things. They need money and they need votes. If they don't have money or they don't have votes, they're out of office. So we have to understand that not participating, anyone who says that we don't need to participate in the political game and think burying your head in the sand, with what's happening in Washington, D.C. I don't think they understand, in my honest opinion. I think there's a balance in all of that. I think there's some points to be made. There's some points that we need to challenge each other on. But we don't need to fall out about when we disagree. We simply need to sit down, talk, get a clearer understanding. And like Robert says, it's not one or the other. We got to do both. We got to understand that we got to play the political game, and there's some benefits in it. And we got to perform at the highest level and build relationships and do business with each other. It's not one or the other. It's all those things combined in order for us to continue to move forward. But the fact of the matter is, no matter what we say, our state affairs of only 3% of our businesses having employees is a problem. And no matter who you are and no matter where you're at, if you don't think that's a problem, you're not understanding capitalism and you're not understanding the market. We need to grow black business. And that's really what the chamber is focused on, that we're focused on. We're looking at how we scale black businesses. And that's why this conference coming up is going to be important.
I love it. Well, we do have a caller, but I want to remind everybody that you can give us a call at 773-591-1690. You can drop your comments in the chat on Facebook Live. We're also on YouTube Live. You can subscribe to our YouTube Live. Look for The Wake Up Show Chicago. Also, to Larry's point, if you want to go to register for the upcoming conference in September, please go to ilbcc.org and you will see events. You'll even see the conference. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to put the flyer up too so you guys can see it. And Lori Westerfield said today she is attending the AACA contractors event at Rainbow Push this morning. She encourages people to stop by. And you want to take the call or you want to get back to Robert?
Robert, do you want to finish your comment and then let's take the caller?
No, let's take the call. I mean, and more important to hear what the folks have to say.
All right, Michael, you're live on WVON's The Wake Up Show, Chicago.
Hi, good morning. First, I'd like to say that I, as far as agree with Larry Iver, and I definitely, as far as agree with the attorney, Robert Johnson. You think that the alleged contractor clearly is not speaking from a frame of knowledge. What they're taking is their anecdotal experience and assuming that it is the best thing for a whole race of individuals in a state that doesn't even get 3% of the contracts. I used to be a legislative staffer for an Illinois General Assembly member. I can assure you that if there, and it was a 13-year experience, all occupations that are legal here in the state of Illinois, if they are getting state contracts, they have PAC organizations. The PAC organizations push the politicians because, like Larry was saying, there are only two things that count in politics. You either have the numbers or you better have the money if you want to stay in office. And the money sometimes contributes greatly to the message that will bring in the vote, that will allow an elected official to go to the administrative side of government and ask the question, why, when, how, and how much. That's my comment. You have a great day.
Yeah. I was talking to John Rogers just not long ago, a couple days ago, and he sent me some information that I think is valuable in terms of the fact that, we talk about construction and that's important because, construction is a field that we play in, and construction is a leading indicator of the economy. But there's a lot of professional services in other places. We have to be, it's not one or the other. We have to do all these things. We need more successful black contractors. We need more successful IT firms growing, expanding, investment banking firms. We need everything. We are behind on everything. Like Dr. King says, of the good things in life, the black man has a small portion. Of the bad things in life, we have a double portion. we have to get focused on solutions and what we're doing. And if you watch the chamber and you watch what we've been doing for close to 30 years, we've been focused on creating real opportunities on policy. We helped to bring the sheltered market to bear that people benefited from. It didn't get finished, but we were instrumental in bringing the shelter market to light. Charlotte Roberts played a significant role in terms of that, but we're not doing enough sheltered markets. And so there's a lot of work for us to do. But I can tell you the Chamber is fully committed to identifying challenges and really focusing on solutions that get us to the next level, whatever that be politics, business politics, political pack, you name it, we're trying to do it. Robert, I'll pass the ball back to you, Attorney Robert Johnson.
Yeah, and I think the point that you just made, Larry, we have to take a holistic approach. I mean, given the state of black business in America, while, if you were to look at the TV or look at Black Enterprise, which, highlights the best of our businesses, but the vast majority of our businesses are finding themselves, particularly given this administration, in a fight for survival. I talk to business owners every day. I represent small black businesses, helping them trying to grow and scale. And it's not a conversation that I have had with a black business owner that has been positive about this economy, positive about this administration, and positive about the year that they've had. I do think, and Nigel mentioned it earlier, that there are some opportunities that we can leverage. This whole AI space is one, particularly given its ability to help small businesses scale, is something that we truly need to lean into. I know you may have mentioned earlier our partnership with remote work and the ability to source talent from the diaspora. So there are some positives, but it all is really around how do we strengthen and build the black business ecosystem. And so that means how do we build capacity? How do we get access to capital for black businesses? And then equally importantly, how do we develop and strengthen the relationships with the politicians that can help create policy and advocate on behalf of black business? But I think the bigger issue that we still have to address is that we have to develop a black business agenda. Because in all my experience with politicians, they always end the meeting or the conversation with one question: so what do you want me to do? And we got to be able to have a cogent answer and be able to articulate what is it that we need specifically that's within their ability to either advocate, legislate, or implement that will strengthen black businesses. And so that's what, again, why I'm calling for folks to be part of the process, because just like the two callers that we just listened to, everybody has varying opinions, but we still have to come to a consensus because we can't just sit in a room and just continue to debate, but what are the actionable items that we need them to execute on so that we can hold them accountable and measure their contribution to the creation of this stronger black business ecosystem. This was the ask, this is what you delivered. I don't think that we've had a clear conversation as a community around what that looks like. And so that's one of the things that we're focused on, is to really take this data, survey our membership, and come up with what are the things specifically that we want to go into this midterm and beyond to have these black politicians focus on to try to strengthen the black business community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll say this is that, one of the things I think there's a number of things that we need to do as a community, as a black business community. And everything we look at in history has always been about money and property and wealth. That's all it's about. Slavery was about creating wealth for other people. We were the means by which they created wealth, on our backs. And if you had a number of slaves, you were wealthy. The more slaves you had, the wealthier you were. We are now focused on what's been dividing us and how do we get together. So I'm really proud of the fact that The chamber has extended to Joseph Business School, who's a partner of the chamber. We partner together. They have a goal of putting, I think Dr. Bill Winston has the goal of a million business, I mean, of 100,000 business doing $1 million. There's some other people out there who have similar goals. We ought to work together to help achieve that objective. Now, what is it going to take? It's not going to be one size fits all because no business, when I talk to a business owner, if I'm talking to a business that's doing 30, $40 million, I'm a different conversation than a business that's doing 5 million. It's a different conversation than a person doing 50,000. And you have to understand that why it's important for us. And I want to give a shout out to Kareem, who's the head of your Black Contracts United, and Irma Hollingsworth, who's one of the leaders of BCO, a fantastic organization. But those organizations, when we're fighting for IDOT and contracts with the tollway, everything else, we have to come, we're stronger together than we're ever going to be apart. The same thing in IT and technology. That's why it has a E committee to make sure we got to echo, see that echo. So we got to make sure that we're pushing those envelopes. And that's why this conference, I want to close, LaDonna, I get close to our closing, where we're really talking about the conference. What we bring into the conference, we're going to do something unique in terms of matchmaking. We're going to have some high-powered people who are very successful who will be a part of the conference. We're going to have people who are doing some big things when it comes to state government as well as corporations. This is a place to go to be around like-minded people and also be around opportunity. You know, it's a real opportunity to sit down, and every time you get to a conference, you ought to be looking for something to happen. And I've just recently talking to a gentleman by name Christopher, and he called me up to let me know that he went to the conference last year, and that even though he met with a lot of people did not return his phone call. Unfortunate. But he said one person did return his phone call, and he ended up doing a contract with the McCormick place. He said that would have never happened if I had not come to the conference and built that relationship. And there's some other relationship there I'm working on. So we're going to be working with him. There's a lot of people just like that. If you're in business, you want to put yourself in a, you know, if you're at a basketball and you're sitting on the bench, you can't take the last shot. You're not even in the game. You can't take the last shot. You can't be the hero. You can't make that last second shot that wins the game in overtime if you're on the bench or if you're not even on the team. So you need to be on the team. You need to come to the conference and get in the game so you can score.
I agree. You know, I want to give Robert the floor and thank him for coming on. I always love it when attorney Robert Johnson comes on the line because he's so calm in laying out the foundation. You know, I'm always he's real smooth with it. You know, I don't know, he was probably a beast, you know, back in his heyday. But here on business, you know, standing on business and having Robert on the call, I want to give you the floor just to kind of you know, what is the next step coming from your perspective, Robert?
Well, thank you, LaDonna. What the next step is, and Larry again alluded to this earlier, in this society, it's about money, power, and respect. If I can quote Jay-Z and the crew. And what we're focused on right now is raising the money for the pack, because at the end of the day, we need to have the ability to influence outcomes. And money talks in this society, in this capitalistic society in which we live. So we're embarking upon fundraisers. So there'll be more information that'll be coming out about that shortly as to how folks can donate and become involved in the PAC so that we can begin to develop that war chest, as it were, as we begin to prepare for November and beyond, because we have to be able to sit at the table with some influence. Because one of the things that I do agree with the gentleman, the first caller, is that, you know, money dictates influence in politics. And unfortunately, we have been in a position where we have not been able to have our voices heard because we haven't been taken seriously as a body, as a constituent. We complain, but one of the ways that folks hear your complaints is with your checkbook, whether that be by boycotting or donating. Those are the two ways in which people in our community have been able to flex their muscle. You know, we saw that recently with Target, the impact of what our dollar or the lack of our support of an organization can do in terms of bringing people to the table. We believe not that we're necessarily trying to punish folks, but if it comes to it, that is something that we at least have the ability to do to demonstrate our strength by running or supporting candidates that are running candidates against those who are not supportive of our agenda. But again, it all begins with money, and organizing. All of the things that have been, all of the progress that you talked about from with respect to our ancestors and our forefathers and mothers have been as a result of organizing, getting folks out into the street, raising money. I was just listening to somebody that I had a conversation with yesterday, and they were telling me or reminding me how one of the reasons that Martin Luther King was able to do the things that he was able to do because of Harry Belafonte and Cicely Tyson and Dick Gregory and a number of other folks. Sorry?
I said Sammy Davis was one of the contributors also.
Yeah, so it might have been you, Larry. We were having this conversation about how they were able to pool their money together to get him out of jail. So he knew that while he was out demonstrating and advocating on our behalf, that his community had his back. And so that's the same approach that we're hoping to take with regard to the PAC. We want to make sure that we have the resources so that we can support those politicians who are willing to take a stand for us so that when they come under attack, because we know that they will, that we have the ability to support them. And so that's really what the next step is a call to action for folks to be able to begin to donate and support and to make their voice heard with regard to what this Black business agenda can shape up to be so that we can give our candidates a clear mandate as to what it is that we want to see done.
Yeah.
You're a small business. You know some of the challenges that you face, so we're going to create a forum for you to be able to articulate what are the things that you would like to see done so that we can begin to have, as I said, a cohesive agenda that is as broad but as succinct as possible for those candidates to be able to understand this is what the Black business community is wanting to see you do. So when you're in those rooms and you have the opportunity to speak on our behalf, this is what we want you to say.
Hey, Robert, thanks a lot.
Yes.
Go ahead, LaDonna.
You was about to cut him off too?
No, he can flow. There's certain people I don't cut off.
No, I'm just looking at the clock. We only get 1 hour. Dr. Larry Ivory, I want to thank you for being the president and CEO of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and giving a platform to all of your members to have a presentation or a platform for them to present their businesses each and every week. Thank you so much. And of course, the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce is coming up with the No Longer Divided, the 21st annual convention for you guys to network and network properly, network responsibly, and network diligently. Thank you so much for WVON to have us on here each and every week, every Saturday, guys. And a big thank you to Wind Creek, Chicago Southland for sponsoring this show. We love you guys. Hey, and if you want to sponsor this show, you can. Just give us a call. Give us a holler. What's the phone number, Larry?
309-740-4430.
I love it.
309-740-4430. 30.
Phone lines are open. Guys, I'm LaDonna Raeh. Dr. LaDonna Raeh is in the building and about to sign off. We'll see you next Saturday on the Wake Up Show Chicago right here on WVON 1690. Bye-bye for now.